We had a parent reach out the other day with like a 3-page text talking about 6 years of back pain, spine surgeons, injections, failed physical therapy, chiropractic, and they went to amazing places. I looked at the list. I looked at the surgeons and I was like, guys, are we reading this? Going back that far, I was hoping to be able to stand up for a night or be able to sit down or not look for a chair that I thought would be a comfortable chair. I think one of the things that I said to all of you is this is life-changing. We can not only help our clients, but we could change your life and Christian's life and my life for the better. And I think it comes down to regulation, ignorance, and fear. Probably one of the biggest things that I see that so many healthcare providers are petrified to say, I'm worth X. And I turned it around them and I said, why would you say that I'm worth X? You should be telling the patient that their health is worth X. Hey guys, welcome back to Tough Love with Dr. John O'Connor. Today I'm here with my boy Matt. What's up, Matt?
Not much, Doc.
So
good to be
again,
back.
major congratulations on the wedding. I know you just got back from the honeymoon. We're rocking today. Today's show is all about getting outside your comfort zone and stepping into the unknown with confidence and, the willingness to want to try to be even better than you were or thought you ever could be. So let's get started, Matt.
Yeah, Doc. So super excited, super pumped. We just had our first national coaching event this past Saturday at our Freehold facility. We had a lot going on, so it was hard to really take it all in. I guess my first question to you is, how'd you feel leaving the building? What was going through your head? Did you feel successful? Did you think it was a huge win?
Absolutely thought it was a huge win. And I have to tell you, it's funny being an athlete, from a high school athlete, college athlete, beyond, and a professional basketball trainer. From the night before and us being out to dinner with one of the largest, sports medicine providers in the nation and realizing the opportunity that we have there, I was like an 18-year-old again. I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was up at 3. I was up at 4 and ultimately got up at 4:30, to meet you at the gym and train, and you were late.
I was. Hello,
and, and the big thing that I was blown away with as I walked out of that building was, we're here. And I love watching podcasts and seeing young athletes realizing you're on the big stage, and we're not there yet, but what an amazing opportunity. And I think one of the things that I said to all of you is this is life-changing. We can not only help our clients, but we could change your life and Christian's life and my life for the better and be able to do it in something that we were there all day and it felt like we were there 5 minutes.
It flew by.
And when I was out there speaking in front of that audience, at one point I legitimately felt like, a professional coach, like talking in front of his athletes. And, I said this to you. I said, Matt, I literally envisioned thousands of people like we were at a Parker seminar or, National Physical Therapy Association or sports medicine, or just coaching on leadership and understanding the importance of start to finish. What's that look like? And most people start, but so few finish. And, even coming out of the event, what I was so proud of everybody was, how do we close up? How do we finish with these people? How do we thank the ones that are completely involved? And how do we reach out to answer some of the questions that we could have left or those potential clients could have left with?
Yeah.
So, finishing up, I definitely floated out of there like I just won the World Series, and I was so thankful. I know you busted your ass on Friday night and you were running around to get there. And, I think we're only as good as our team. And in that setting, whether it was, one of the new members with Chrissy Bridges or how amazing Sean was, I told Sean, I said, being a coach and trainer and having the privilege of working with National Player of the Year players or WNBA, NBA players or professional Euro pros or whatever, you get to see special games, special moments, and you get to see that special something. And, I always say he's an old soul, but he's a young guy. And I said, what you did today was special. From start to finish, I thought you were magical. and you brought it with energy. It was like you were a 5-man crew and it was just you. And the same thing I told you and Christian, you know, I thought that what you guys brought to the stage, and even seeing Christian, right? And that's our dude. What's up, Christian?
I was proud of him, my guy.
I was so proud of him when he got on stage in front of the crowd and, you know, being mic'd up, he was so confident.
Crushed it.
And he was so strong in his vocal presentation that I was like a proud dad.
Yeah.
You know, and listening to the people talking and complaining, it was like being right back at FCA again. And I said to you, I would much rather have that experience like when you go into a high-end fashion store and you walk up and say, you know, they ask you like, what's your intent? You know, you're like, I'm shopping.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, but they'll literally freeze you and make you feel like if you're not coming in here to actually do something, don't come in.
Right.
And to me, that's what I felt like. I felt like if people were going to come and have the intent and purpose that you're looking to change your life.
Absolutely.
And that we are going to give you the energy, the motivation, the knowledge, the power, and the tools, right? With our sponsors, right? Our sponsors were amazing. They came in and they shipped in stuff. You know, MedRay was amazing. They shipped a ton of stuff in. You know, Pulse Penf brought in their crew. We had one of their top independent salespeople, one of their top executives there. You know, Script Pesco was there strong, you know, with the EMS product. And of course, you know, Cryoscience was amazing. And, you know, and we love Suzanne and, you know, and obviously Connor. And it was amazing. And then of course we had a couple of people there shopping us out, you know, and when people come to vet you and you nail something like that, I felt like, wow, you know, I didn't have that confidence during COVID. I was hurt. I was broken. You know, the world was shut down. And yeah, you know, family, friends, everybody was there. But I have to tell you, I would have never thought, if you asked me that and it had been said in your wildest dreams, you think you're going to be setting up your facility to host an event that would be filmed and broadcasted to coach people, to change their lives, to change their practices, to change patient outcomes, and treat with the same technology that like the 1% of the world is using. I would have said, whatever you're smoking, I'll have some.
Right.
You know, because that wouldn't have been something I would have thought even remotely possible.
Right. And that's just amazing in and of itself right there. But let's rewind 1.5, 2 years ago, let alone even 6 months ago, when Velocity HP coaching was just a thought, right? We had Core 4 in the clinic. We were implementing. It's always the next man up mentality. Somebody was going to come out with the Core 4, but you realized you had to do this. What was your why behind implementing the Core 4 and pushing it into Velocity HP coaching?
You know what's funny? That'd almost be like a therapy session. For me, being a practitioner that's, you know, 20 years in the game and one of the top practitioners in, you know, in the county, when I never want to say I'm at the mercy of anything. And when I was practicing and dealing with bad insurance carriers, you know, patients being saddened by we didn't take their plan anymore, it didn't pay, or their deductibles, this and that.
It hits.
And I wanted to offer healthcare at such a quality level that the patient would put a value to it. And I think the other thing, and I say this all the time, and I love going out to restaurants. I love good food, good wine, good alcohol, whatever. I love being in that, you know, in that atmosphere.
Right.
But when I'm thinking about the amount of time and education that we put in, and we're battling over $20 and people don't see something wrong with that, that I was like, there's a problem. You know, I'm tipping $200 to a server and we're battling over $20 for healthcare when someone's about to have a spinal surgery. I feel like I want to be on a national campaign to say, take back value in medicine. Now it's your goddamn job to get results, right? And put those results out there. If you're not getting results, then don't ask for anything.
Right.
But if you're changing people's lives, then you deserve to be compensated. And that is probably the biggest thing that I look back into 1.5, 2 years ago and said, you know, how's this going to go? And I wasn't sure. And some of the equipment we've had for a while, but I really believe the power of social media and people putting it out there, that it created an opportunity. And then of course, with all my injuries and starting treating with it and broadcasting that, and that return to sports and training, with amazing trainers and staff in the Ford Athletic Club facility, I was blessed to have all them around me at the right time. And, you know, it's life-changing, career-changing. And, you know, I really think for the best that we could sit there and go out there and be on this platform, because I'm so mesmerized by people teaching you how to have a better personality or how to go, you know, make a better business or cash in on leads. And I can't say, I can't get enough in. You know, I probably do 16 to 20 hours of that a week of reading and absorbing,
Right.
to be better and improve. But I would say that when we use the science that we use, and it's documented and it's being pushed out there by the National Institute of Health or these different medical governing bodies and research study groups that are putting out great content, and we're sharing that. And now you have all these social media influencers like Gary Brecka and, you know, Dana White's story and all these different amazing accomplishments. It allows us for our platform to grow by association.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that only helps our patients, right? Because they start out as an informed consumer and then they become a miraculous outcome.
Right.
And to me, that I feel like is God's work,
No,
you know,
absolutely.
that we can help and change people's lives.
Yeah, for sure. And the biggest thing behind that, even at the coaching event, having these doctors and practitioners in the facility, when we were explaining the sciences to them, one chiropractor, very good friend of yours, you guys go back, and he did the pen on his knee for 5 minutes. He got up off the chair. I thought he was dizzy or something. I'm like, you okay? He goes, my knee feels great. It's the first time I was able to bend it like this in God knows how long. But that being said, not many doctors know about the science. And I feel that's what's amazing about what you're doing with the coaching realm is you're real. You're not putting on a show. It's not all about you. You're not just posting on social media just to post. This is all real. So how do you go into helping other chiropractors in your field, even physical therapists in PT, to basically buy in and be all in on what we're trying to implement?
That's the $1 billion question, not $1 million question. You know, bringing in the team that we brought into Velocity HP Coaching, and I'm blessed to have, you know, Kaleem Media, and then we just added Christy Bridges to create a national marketing team. And we want to study that, right? Because we want to educate the consumer and get out to them and use content that's relative to, or they can relate to. And I believe the biggest thing that I see is the patient or the patient's loved one testimonials. There's nothing like, you know, we had a parent reach out the other day with like a 3-page text talking about 6 years of back pain.
Yeah.
Spine surgeons, injections, failed physical therapy, chiropractic, and they went to amazing places. I looked at the list. I looked at the surgeons, and I was like, guys, are we reading this? This is what the world needs to read. This is what they need to see. Me broadcasting, you know, free adjustments, free this, free that, is gimmicky. It's sticky. You know, it brings me back to, you know, my good friend Rob Gill always saying, be authentic.
Yeah.
Be genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, when you can share something that a mom, a dad, a person has a life-changing a shift, you are becoming a disruptor. And because of what? You're tapping into an emotion, right? No one wants to be hurt.
Right.
No one wants to be sidelined. No one wants to have chronic pain, ache, this and that. If we could take somebody that's got a pain scale of a 7 and get them down to a 2, there's probably nothing funnier than them saying, I'll take that to the grave. I didn't even notice that. Right?
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing that, you know, we had young physical therapy students attending. We had acupuncturists there. We had chiropractors. We had fitness center owners. And what I realized is that system, whether it's the wellness stuff, we don't necessarily have to have it in a diagnosis-based realm.
Right.
It's wellness. It's prevention. It's, do you want to react to an injury or do you want to prevent an injury? You know, if you know you have pre-existing conditions, or like in other words, aches and pains throughout, and you can go to whether it's going to be our R3 recovery labs that are opening up, or go into one of our clinics. I firmly believe we're going to change the face of medicine. And, I love my great doctors and surgeons and, whether orthopedics, general surgeons, heart surgeons, whatever, plastic surgeons, they all say the same thing. You want to see me last. If you can get better without us, run it.
Yeah.
When you need us, we'll do our job.
Right.
Right. And so the more we can get that out there, that message that like, hey, we're here for you. And by the way, here are the testimonials, here are the results, here's the science, and get off that gimmicky discount this, discount that to try to draw them in. I don't think it's about that. I don't even think that's good healthcare. I think that's almost like a sign of desperation.
Right. 100%. And if I know our patient, that text from the mom you got, he got a PR on a 55-foot shot put throw in his practice for winter track.
Without a doubt.
Celebrating huge wins like that. And the vision you had, Doc, going back, a little over 2 years ago when you were going through it, did you have this vision in your head at that time on what you wanted to implement, how you wanted to implement it?
Wow. Going back that far, I was hoping to be able to stand up for a night or be able to sit down or not look for a chair that I thought would be a comfortable chair. And these technologies gave me back my fearless nature because I didn't have a pain, an ache. I wasn't looking for it.
Right.
And the amount of books I read on kind of spiritual reprogramming and reprogramming the thoughts that I had evolved. And I realized that that if it worked for me and, then it could work for anybody.
Right.
And probably one of the most, defining moments was when people were like, oh wow, man, last time I saw you, you were super banged up. And they're like double taking me like, what are you doing? Right. And, I tell them, it's a full on, ritual and routine program that I don't go away from, but I'm happy.
Right.
Right. I feel good. Do I warm up, I warm up a long time before workouts. Yeah.
Of course. It's still a grind every day.
I trained with professional athletes for 25 years. I got a lot of body parts that have arthritis in them.
Right.
But you know what? If I can get in there and grind, and I've, again, amazing training staff on me and my guys, I'm blessed to have you and Christian, we're constantly posting content out there because that's real.
Yeah.
If I tweak my shoulder, if I tweak my knee, we're working on it hard
Light
for
it
a few
up.
weeks.
PEM
and,
shockwave laser cryo.
and we're putting it out there showing
Yeah.
people, hey, you know what? A month ago, I couldn't squat.
Right.
I'm going for a PR in 2 weeks. Or, I couldn't bench 2 weeks ago. I'm back to 225.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, during that dark time, and that was 2 years, I was like, when will that happen?
Right.
And I just think, just like we're getting patients that do have chronic pain, you go from when that's going to happen to that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I think the greatest message in these scenarios is to say, we're giving you hope because I felt like I was out of hope. I was out of the light had turned off. And when it turned back on, that core four, and I've heard people, reference that. I know that, one of my favorite people to read, is out there, utilize it. But for us, that was like, for me, it was almost like biblical.
Yeah.
Because I know that I can turn the corner on just about anything. And I am so grateful for that. And I think when I go in and I like to share it with my staff, that's why I think, you watch the success with me because I'm like, I lived it.
Right.
I hear what you're saying. And I was so hurt. I was so emotionally beaten up. And, I regained and reclaimed what I wanted to be. And I think you hear so many pro athletes or stories about, the old Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
I'm going out my way. Right. And I'm thankful for that. So, these companies that we work with, the level of gratitude, yes, we're compensated, but I don't know if I'd be here without them.
Without that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a huge win in and of itself. And I mean, we have a patient now, post ACL rehab, 5th treatment on shockwave and PEMF therapy, post electromagnetic field. He was able to break 90 on his squat that he hasn't done in over 7.5 months the other day.
That was wild. And, I think that's the big thing that we saw in the coaching, hearing the barriers, the judgments or the lack of knowledge, and they put walls up. And I've worked along a lot of amazing therapists, and I hear people talk, or business owners, and I feel bad for them because they're like, I think they're so in that salesy campaign. I'm like, guys, I'm not selling anything. It's science. We don't even let them go to our website.
No.
And they're like, what? We're sending them to the National Institute of Health. We're sending them to the Mayo Clinic. I love
sending them to our freaking Instagram.
Yeah.
That's all they got to see.
Well, that too. And that's live, right? Mm-hmm. That's present. That's the results we're getting. But I think when they're in there and they're looking at these different things and they're looking at it, that here's this major research hospital putting it out there. I'm like, hey guys, I would never use it if you couldn't find something on it.
Right.
Right. And when they read it and they come back, they're like, I can get behind that. That's really special. And thank you so much for sharing your story.
Right. And that was the first thing when it was my turn to speak at the event. To us, education is key, whether it's to patients, other providers, teaching them the technology. My opinion, if you can't educate, you shouldn't really talk about it at all, because then you're going to act like it's selling them on some type of equipment or anything like that.
Well, that's it. And, there are a couple super impressive providers that I've worked with over the years that were utilizing, whether it was shockwave or this or that, but whether it's PRP or stem cell, and I know that's huge in professional sports, and our European pros, when they're home, get great results with that. And I think it comes down to regulation, ignorance, and fear. And probably one of the biggest things that I see, that so many healthcare providers are petrified to say, I'm worth X.
Right.
And I turned it around and I said, why would you say that I'm worth X? You should be telling the patient that their health is worth X.
Right.
And you should be investing in you.
Yeah.
We just happen to have the technology that's going to be the bridge that connects the two.
Right.
And I think when you frame it that way, that's when it becomes powerful. But if you're second guessing your value, you're second guessing your confidence and your swag, you're done.
Yeah.
I tell my team all the time, when I'm sitting with you and I'm like, hey, let's game plan. What's going on here? We had a patient in today, amazing turnaround. He's, 75% improved. And we've been guarded. He's been dealing with this for a couple of years. We're friends through very good friends. And so it makes us, we're very close in how we communicate. And I said to him, I go, hey, now this is the next stage. Now we have to introduce movement and strengthening. Initially, he was like, I was like, patients come in, they can't put on their shoes, they can't get dressed, they can't cross their legs. He goes, and it was hysterically, and he's got that New York accent. He goes, that was me, and, I am just thankful that through education and a clear message that those patients are like, I'm in. Right. Because, when you live a good life and you can afford something, but you don't know about it, that knowledge is power. And, and then when you explain to them, hey, we haven't exercised yet.
Right.
We got to bring that back in.
Yeah.
And just like the first time you've trained legs, you haven't done in a while, you feel like you can't sit down, your thighs are killing you, whatever. You haven't exercised these muscles. That's the next stage. Now you get to appreciate and see the value of the technology again, because we're going to cut down that sore time. And your brain wants to play tricks on you. Is it an ache, or is there pain coming back?
Right.
Right. And how many times we've seen patients have that analysis paralysis, and then all of a sudden they freeze up because they think it's coming on, and then ultimately something starts to hurt.
Right. And they're back.
Yeah. And, I think today was a great example of education, because we had all patients today that, for our patient Tom, who's become like like our mascot to Core 4, here's a young man that just got married, that came in, and it was fear, depression, the unknown. He was doing surgical consults while he was seeing us, kind of
saw two surgeons. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was kind of half believing.
Uh-huh.
And I said, hey, listen, you're a consumer when you go to meet them. Ask them questions. Because if I had a younger brother that was, in his 30s, and here I am at, 49, I'd be like, ask him, what's the recovery? What's the rehab going to look like? How have your outcomes been? How many years you've been practicing? How many you had to, do revisions on, and how often?
Yeah.
And one surgeon got fired right out of the gates because he didn't have an answer for him for anything. So I said, well, we can't use him.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other doctor was like, you know what? Whatever you're doing right now, it's working. When it's not working any longer, come see me. So that's a guy I'd put on my referral board, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, you know
Right.
what? If you're getting results, why do we have to cut you?
Last resort.
Last resort. And today was a day where I would say I was grateful. I got to send the head strength coach at the Ford Athletic Club a text today that patient that was doing surgical consults that thought he would never move again, wouldn't be able to enjoy his wedding, is going to start training again.
Right.
And get strong and start doing stuff. And, you know, that's what this is all about. That's the journey. I can't say how many more years I'm going to be practicing, but for the years I'm practicing, we want to share those stories.
Absolutely.
Because that's what's going to give us traction. Because patients want to be able to relate to something. They want to look on the wall of success and they want to see their picture up there.
Yeah.
And the more people we can put up there, put their stories up there, the testimonials, and create that belief, because people have come back from, I haven't moved in years. I've been petrified to do this. I'm petrified to do that. We can get results and eliminate the fear. We're delivering really excellent medicine. And I'm
Right.
proud to be part of that.
No, absolutely. And I feel as if that's what separates us as a team compared to most in the area, because we have the passion. We love what we do. We don't just show up and work. It's one thing to tell a patient to do something, but we're coaching them. We're referring them to trainers and other doctors and being all in on their strengthening program. A message to your listeners, Doc. What would you tell somebody if they're struggling or they have a friend that's struggling to get through, whether it's their PT or sports rehab or workouts, or don't know what to do? How can you guide them? What advice can you give them?
I've been there, right? You got to stay the course. And the biggest thing is you got to look inside and you have to break down what you're doing, right? If it's an injury, you know, you need an assessment. You need a competent provider. Of course, we're always going to say, hey, come to Velocity. We're going to help you out
Right.
and take a look. But that's the, you know, that's the salesy answer.
Right.
You have to be ready to dig in, and it's a journey. And for me, I look at it like, hey, this might be something I do for the rest of my life. But if I feel great and I'm, you know, I keep climbing that ladder of gains and PRs and feeling great or recovering faster, then I'm checking all the boxes, right? And that's what it's all about. So I would tell them, hey, listen, analyze what you're doing. Analyze how your progress is, if there's any. Evaluate yourself. Are you all in?
Right.
If you've had 50 physical therapy sessions scheduled and you showed up for 20, don't complain about the work you didn't put in.
Right.
Right. And so many times we see that with patients, you know, and they're coming in, they're complaining, or they're too anxious. They want to be better on the first visit. And I'm like, you know what? I think the big thing for you is that you got to take a breath, celebrate the wins. How you feeling today? No pain. Okay. What's going on a little week? Okay. No problem. Next phase is we're going to get you a trainer.
Yeah.
And the great thing about it is you're busy at work. We're going to find somebody that's going to come to your office up north, like we had with one of our patients' fathers. And when we gave him an action plan, he realized he is feeling better, but he's weaker. And I had to remind him, like, you're late 60s, early 70s, you're still all over construction sites and you have an arthritic knee.
Right.
The pain in the knee is almost gone, but you're weak now. So we build up the strength. The pain's almost gone. Who's better than you? You're winning.
Yeah.
And so I think framing conversations and walking people through their story is, I think too many people are hard on themselves and they're expecting perfect instead of striving for perfect and being okay with being okay.
Right.
So many people are like, oh, I didn't get there. What couldn't you do that you could do now? Oh, you can sit for an hour. I had a patient come in that he hasn't slept on his one shoulder in 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, the other day I slept on it for a half hour.
Right.
And by the end of his sessions, before he left to go down to Florida for a few weeks, he's like, I found myself sleeping on my shoulder for an hour and a half to 2 hours the other night. He's like, that's a huge win. Right. And so when you think about that, you get disrupted from your sleep. You can't do this. Now you're sleeping. Now you're resting. You're doing it without, being afraid.
Yeah.
Then you're progressing. You're moving forward.
Right.
And I think that's our job as educators, healthcare providers, to put that message out.
Right.
Right. And I think one of the neat things with the modalities that we use is what we see that I think is uncanny is how fast they recover prior to being under our care.
Yeah.
So they'd say, I'm hurting for 7 to 10 days. Now it's like a day.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate it. Wow. A day.
Absolutely.
I trust me, if you went on a 50-mile bike ride, your legs would be sore the next day. So, or maybe for a couple days. But if you did some heavy labor that you couldn't do a year ago and you're sore for a day, you probably would have been sore if you had a perfect spine.
Right.
Or a perfect knee.
Yeah.
And that's just appreciating, like, don't be so hard on yourself.
Right.
You nailed that.
And it's not on your rehab team. It's not on us. That's on them. They're the ones coming in. They're the ones buying in. They're the ones all in, putting in the time and work.
100%.
I think that's the most powerful message out of that.
Agreed.
Awesome.
So one of the things that I want to talk about today is just from the weekend was the power of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought one of the things that really struck a nerve or was really powerful for me as a person delivering the message was the pain points.
Yeah.
And there were so many providers. I mean, the one literally brought tears to my eyes. Here's a dad that I've known. It was one of the first practices I practiced at. He had a heart attack and his son battling leukemia, who's his associate and his son. And you could see the love in the conversation that he's battling, and he struggles and he takes medicine, 2 times a day. And this last year has been hard. The guy that was running the practice and crushing it had a heart attack. So he had to get back to health. And his son, that's been a standout athlete and, just career great kid, he's struggling.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I go, guys, we have to help you. I feel like it's almost like a Disney movie that we're going to change how you practice.
Yeah.
We're going to change how you're paid. We're going to change everything about it. So, doc, if you're having a bad day because that, the chemo medication is really beating you up, you're going to be able to practice and be compensated and feel really good about that you're providing.
Right.
And for his dad, who has practiced for, twice as long as I've practiced.
He's trying to wean off a little bit.
He's trying to wean off and to give you the opportunity to give patients, great results, great outcomes, and not have to be so married to everyday grind.
Right.
And I have to say, that was one of multiple stories, that it was all about, and that's the one knock about physical medicine. And I've kind of made that go away. I don't want to see 70 patients and give average care. And, when I used to be in remarkable, I'm still in good shape, but I was in great shape and much younger. I could sit there and just crank through bodies all day long. And they were getting great outcomes. I mean, people say this, oh, doc, you fixed me so many times. And I'm like, thank you, but I don't want to physically do that anymore.
Right.
I don't want to deal with the charting. I don't want to deal with rushing them in and out. I don't want to deal with who's upset because they're waiting too long.
It's all about the Disney experience.
Yeah. And so I think where we've gone and where we've evolved to is a place that I'm so looking forward to bringing so many practice. Hey guys, quality over quantity.
Right.
Right.
Right. And,
So-
and looking around the room when you were just speaking, opening up at the event, I don't think I saw anybody even blink once. They didn't want to miss anything. They were fully engaged. And I feel that was the most powerful message is the ones that did attend the event, they were there for a reason. It was a beautiful Saturday, sunny day. Who wants to be there? The ones that are all in.
I think, the powerful message as we're wrapping up this podcast today was I was sitting up there thinking about one of the podcasts we did a few weeks ago, and it's been something that's been all over social media, is one day or day one. And I hit a stride where I was looking into the audience and I could see their faces and I could see them shaking their head. Like when you're in church and you're reflecting or you're celebrating somebody's life, a birth, a christening, a death, a wedding. And I was like, you know what, guys? And I glanced over at the team. I was like, we're going to do some amazing stuff. And we're going to go, and I can't do it without you guys.
Right.
They would say, if you want to go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I was like, I have a great team and we're going to take this, opportunity and we are going to help and change lives. We're going to take companies that couldn't figure out the enigma of getting their technology they know works out to the community. And we're going to be out there for a long time doing great things. And that was like a flashpoint. It hit me and I was like, this is really happening. but it was like being in church
Right.
and hearing a powerful message, and you just are like, your spirit is lifted. I go, thank God. I've taken a lot of losses over the recent years and done so many amazing things. But to be in a situation like this where we could really change, the impact it has on us,
Yeah.
I'm thankful and I'm blessed. So
I mean, hell, I thought it was opening day Saturday. I was tossing and turning Friday night. Couldn't wait for
yeah,
first pitch.
that's why you probably overslept.
Yeah, probably. I'm owning it.
So at any rate, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us today on the Tough Love Podcast. Today's podcast was all about not being afraid. And if you want to change careers, you're never too old. If you want to go after something, don't be afraid. And if you think you could do something, set a plan, stay the course, and get it done. Matt, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Always a
And
pleasure.
guys, share the podcast. You see value in this, get it out there. Check out our platform. Follow us on Instagram. We're out there all over the place. We're trying to get this message out there. And thank you so much. Have a great night.
We just had our first national coaching event this past Saturday at our Freehold facility. We had a lot going on, so it was hard to really take it all in. I guess my first question to you is, how'd you feel leaving the building? What was going through your head? Did you feel successful? Did you think it was a huge win?
Absolutely thought it was a huge win. And I have to tell you, it's funny being an athlete, from a high school athlete, college athlete, beyond, and a professional basketball trainer. From the night before, and us being out to dinner with one of the largest, sports medicine providers in the nation, and realizing the opportunity that we have there, I was like an 18-year-old again. I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was up at 3. I was up at 4, and ultimately got up at 4:30. To meet you at the gym and train, and you were late.
I was. Hello,
and, and the big thing that I was blown away with as I walked out of that building was, we're here. And I love watching podcasts and seeing young athletes realizing you're on the big stage. We're not there yet, but what an amazing opportunity. I think one of the things that I said to all of you is, this is life-changing. We can not only help our clients, but we could change your life and Christian's life and my life for the better, and be able to do it in something that we were there all day and it felt like we were there 5 minutes.
What was your why behind implementing the Core 4 and pushing it into Velocity HP coaching?
You know what's funny? That'd almost be like a therapy session. For me, being a practitioner that's, 20 years in the game and one of the top practitioners in the county, when I never want to say I'm at the mercy of anything. And when I was practicing and dealing with bad insurance carriers, patients being saddened by, we didn't take their plan anymore, it didn't pay, or their deductibles, this and that.
It hits.
And I wanted to offer healthcare at such a quality level that the patient would put a value to it. We had a parent reach out the other day with like a 3-page text talking about 6 years of back pain, spine surgeons, injections, failed physical therapy, chiropractic, and they went to amazing places. I looked at the list. I looked at the surgeons and I was like, guys, are we reading this? Going back that far, I was hoping to be able to stand up for a night or be able to sit down or not look for a chair that I thought would be a comfortable chair. I think one of the things that I said to all of you is this is life-changing. We can not only help our clients, but we could change your life and Christian's life and my life for the better. And I think it comes down to regulation, ignorance, and fear. Probably one of the biggest things that I see that so many healthcare providers are petrified to say, I'm worth X. And I turned it around them and I said, why would you say that I'm worth X? You should be telling the patient that their health is worth X.